to Richo Jones for this week. Good evening, Mr. Jones.
Is that the withering assault that you're going to issue towards me?
No, that hasn't begun yet. I think we start by being polite. I work up to the withering assault.
I'll tell you what, you were cleaned out today. Cleaned out in big style. Because you wouldn't want to know of a bloke by the name of Phil Bowen, not brother of your mate Chris Bowen.
Here we go.
Now, Phil Bowen is Parliament's independent budget officer. He said today, if you just continued on the trajectory of payments and revenues prior to the budget, net debt is forecast to grow rapidly at the highest rate in the OECD. The longer you leave it, the more exposed you become and the harder it is to wind it back. If the debt is left unchecked, it could reach $667 billion in less than 10 years. But of course, according to the Labor Party, it's just propaganda, it's a contrivance, it's an invention.
That's simply not, no, it's true, of course, but let me just begin with which life first, I don't know, but I'll just say this to you. I have not disputed at any point the need to cut things back, at any point. I have said that in the out years, things are grim. Labor, I've used all sorts of phrases that they didn't mind the till well. I think I used that. I've said a lot of things that in the out years, they let things go.
Get to it.
And so what we ought to be doing is looking at those out years. And what we ought to be doing when we look at what? And this is the thing that you don't get. You have to look at equity. It's a thing about fairness. I mean, you don't get these things.
Where is it inequitable? $7
I'm a family on $100,000 with a mortgage out there in the suburbs. This has really hurt me. And yet you and I aren't going to feel any pain whatsoever. That's wrong.
Nonsense argument. You're pandering to the prejudices that are out there.
No,
the $7.
Just take one example. Real problems.
Just take one example. The $7 co-payment to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
New Zealand, $17. $17.
Yeah, but they've got a tax rate of 33 cents. You can't compare things like that.
Hang on, the notion that anyone should go to the doctor for nothing is a nonsense because it doesn't happen. Someone pays. And when you sign the Medicare chip and you think, well, I'm getting this service for nothing, the doctor is getting $32.70 from the taxpayer.
That's right.
Nothing is free.
I've never said it was. What I am saying is, however, Australians have had Medicare for how many years now? Decades. It's part of it. Well, John Howard, now you rather liked him. I remember you had a soft spot for him. Is that fair comment?
John Howard, outstanding.
He embraced Medicare. They fought it for 20 years. They put exams and I give up. We're on board. We support Medicare.
Yes, well, of course, most prime ministers find that in a short 3-year span on both sides, it's one of the holy writs that they can't attack. But at the end of the day, the reality has to be faced. Like education and health, they are unaffordable. The notion of free university education is a nonsense. It's not free. And when you have university students bleating and whinging about the fees that they have to pay and assaulting Julie Bishop when she seeks to enter Sydney, University, and those students currently to the taxpayer $30 billion in unpaid HECS, and the interest. Hang on, the interest is 2.9% and they're whinging. You tell me a small businessman out there that's got his money at 2.9%. Now, can I get a question? Well, I wish I could. You wouldn't let me. Go on. The reality is that those students that you refer to are a few idiots, trots, fools, clowns, dopes that go and attack Julie Bishop. They don't represent university students across Australia, but there are an awful lot of people who would never demonstrate, would never do anything to Julie Bishop other than stay out of the road. They are concerned about their futures, and you can't dismiss their concerns. Hang on, I'm going to finish. You cannot dismiss their concerns. They're looking at A, they won't be able to afford their university fee because they're frightened they're going to jump up. And that's rubbish. But it's not rubbish. It is a fact. You don't understand their universities will don't understand. Listen, I don't need anyone to preach poverty to me. I paid for my university, and so should other people. The reality is that the universities will set the fees. Some of them will be lower. Some of them will be higher. There is a HECS, and they don't have to pay until they earn, $50,000. And the outstanding HECS debt funded by the taxpayer is over $30 billion. And interest rate is 2.9%. You tell me a small business out there that's getting its money for 2.9%, and they're productive. They're earning things. They're employing people.
Because the banks won't lend to them.
Well, you tell them if they get 2.9%, these people are
forget about that. What I do know is that these students have genuine worries, and all you're doing is just imitating Christopher Pine. It's just well, who cares? Don't worry. You can't. You can't dismiss people like that. You can't take hundreds of thousands of young people and dismiss them as irrelevant. Their concerns are irrelevant. Grow up. you're saying, well, they'll do that eventually.
Their
But the only thing they've got to do is to be able to grow up, they've got to be able to feed themselves, they've got to have a dollar.
Someone's got to be adult enough to say your complaint is not legitimate. You are getting assistance from the taxpayer to be educated so that one day you'll earn infinitely more than the poor kid who'll never get inside a university gate, and the cost of it is 2.9%, and there's no business in this country getting money at 2.9%. Stop whinging.
Oh, well, stop whinging. That's all you're saying to all those hundreds of thousands of students. But I tell you what, you and Christopher Pine should keep saying it. The polls will keep going like that because you'll look out of touch. You'll look like you just don't care.
We have an adult government, right, Joy.
Look, I can't help this, bloke. I'm sorry. Some people are beyond even my assistance. However, we do have to have the news. We are going to have a break, and here's Sharon McKenzie to give it to you.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you very much, Richo. Well, firstly, extraordinary